Studio Petrichor, and we have Team Petrichor, which is a glowing group of dedicated environmental designers. And so I'm just glad you're here today, and that this is just another step in a path to establishing more and more pollinator gardens and ensuring a healthy environment and our ongoing food supply, which is dependent upon those pollinators. So, Sean.
Yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Sean Restretti, Studio Petrichor, and jointly Pollyanna. Studio Petrichor is a landscape architecture design firm, and we just coming to accept that Studio Petrichor is the convergence of landscape architecture, permaculture practices, and restoration ecology. And at the center of it all is heart, gratitude, and love for all that is. And from that love, Pollyanna, our nonprofit, was born because we could just spend all of our time designing and installing and designing and installing and working with a certain group of clientele, but it didn't make sense for us to not be able to share this. And so enter Pollyanna so that we could hold hands-on workshops and all kinds of educational events just like this. And so thank you for being here. It was really exciting to be a part of all of these projects with the city of Pasadena. I'm sure that Ursula can talk about many of the other projects that have been underway and are underway. And if we were to focus on one thing and choose to focus on one thing, that is loving soil. Period. Because the soil is where food comes from. Soil is where the water goes in order for food to grow, so that the pollinators can pollinate, so that all life can eat. And so as much as we love to talk about plants, and I love to nerd out on plants.
And we will.
We want to emphasize that soil, water, and carbon are the foundation. And I know that Ursula's going to mention that on Tuesday night there's going to be another talk of native plants at Hapamunga. We're going to talk about building healthy soil. And as we're out and about in the garden and when we're planting, I'll throw in some tidbits about ways we can really be optimizing our plantings through a little bit of different care for the soil. And as I was, my brain right now, as I was digging a hole just to see how dry the soil was, I noticed because the mulch has been here for a while.
Well, we just did a topper this last week.
Yeah.
Underneath, it's been there.
And I noticed that there was a layer of broken down soil organic matter right on top of the very dry, compacted, hard San Gabriel Mountain alluvial fan soil. And so one of the things we're always telling everybody is where there's carbon in the soil, there's water. Where there's water in the soil, there is life. And by carbon in the soil, we're referring to amendments, we're referring to mulches, we're referring to logs in the landscape. Anything that's carbon-based helps to optimize water holding capacity in the soil.
And we use that term optimization very specifically because conservation makes people feel like they might be losing something. I have to conserve. Optimization is what you do when you put money into a retirement account and it grows. We are optimizing our use of water and our use of resources. Yeah, that sounds a lot better, doesn't it? We are optimizing, and we're glad you're here to optimize with us.
When people look out at barren sites or impacted, you see them all in between houses. There's just barren sites. People just look at that as dirt. And what makes it soil is the living part. The soil organic matter, the soil food web. And by soil food web, mycorrhizal fungi, bacteria, protozoa, nematodes, all of the underground organisms that actually make up for 95% of all land-based organisms on the planet.
95%.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And we owe our life to that. So today we're gonna get you excited about butterfly plants. But we're also going to talk about moths too, because they're the unsung heroes. Everybody thinks of moths. They go, ew, I mean, the ones that are in my pantry, and they are also powerful, powerful pollinators.
More so than butterflies.
Yeah. We just held, I want to be able to make sure that everybody has a way to get onto our YouTube channel, because we just had a webinar with Chris Cosma, who's a student and researcher at UC Irvine, Riverside. And he put together, who's heard of calscape.org?
If
Where you
not,
can
write
you
it
can
down.
type in you've got a printout with calscape.org on it. You can type in your zip code and find out what native plants evolved right where you live. He created another website called the Butterfly Net that you can type in your address and find out the top butterfly and moth nectar and host plants. And we have that resource for you here today, as well as a QR code that we can share on our iPhone. You can take a photo and get a hold of that. It is a fantastic research tool. And as it turns out, some of the most common native plants are the biggest supporters of both moth and butterfly and larva populations.
Another